PowerPoint on substance abuse, and the topic that I picked was nicotine. So to get into the history of nicotine, it's named after the tobacco plant, its scientific name, which was named after a French ambassador named Jean Nicot, who sent the tobacco plant from Brazil to Paris in the 1560s to promote its medicinal use. So that's kind of how it got its common name that we know of. Tobacco, though, was first used by the Native American population dating back to 6000 BC. It was first introduced to Europeans in the 1490s through settlers, and in the 1530s it started being cultivated by Europeans in Central America. In the 1600s, doctors and scientists started stating there was an addictive property to it and that it could be dangerous. Because, as the centuries go by, it just became more and more popular amongst people. Nicotine was later found as a compound of the plant in the 1820s by German chemists Posselt and Riemann. And then it was later synthesized by the 1890s by two chemists. So when they mean synthesized, they mean that they were able to find the compound within the plant and then create basically a fake nicotine so that it could be reproduced. So some user characteristics and risk factors of those that would be addicted to nicotine, and this all revolves around smoking cigarettes for the most part. I mean, there are other ways to become addicted to nicotine, such as, chewing tobacco and all of that, but the main source of this is smoking cigarettes. And with that being said, most people begin smoking during their adolescence, and the younger someone starts smoking, the greater chance they will become addicted to it. There's also genetic factors that may influence how receptors on an individual's brain respond to high doses of nicotine. So if you've had, multi-generations in your family that, are addicted to smoking, it's possible that you were born with kind of a higher sensitivity to that, so you might be more likely to become addicted. Children who grow up with parents who smoke are more likely to smoke, and those suffering from depression are more likely to smoke. Those who abuse alcohol and other drugs are more likely to smoke, and currently in the U.S., 12.5% of U.S. adults currently smoke cigarettes. And the CDC estimates that, wow, that's a big typo. I'm so sorry. The CDC estimates that about 1,600, even that's a big number too, but 1,600 youth try their first cigarette every single day. So some stereotypes and myths of nicotine. Smokers in the U.S. are stereotyped as unattractive, deviant, weak-willed, and dirty. Sometimes this is used in anti-smoking campaigns in the effort to reduce the amount of smokers, but most smokers do not care how they are perceived. So they're trying to kind of use those stereotypes to create these, billboards and whatnot, saying, oh, gross, you smoke, like you shouldn't smoke, quit it, but there's majority of people who smoke, they don't seem to care how they're perceived. Another myth that people think is that the filters on cigarettes make the cigarettes safer, when in reality, the filters were invented to make the smoke particles smaller, which makes it easier for nicotine to be absorbed, and it increases its addictive effects. So in theory, if it didn't have a filter, the smoke particles would be bigger and maybe a little less addictive, but still. Another myth is that smoking is a choice, and it's somewhat true and then somewhat not true. The first time someone smokes, that is a choice, but at that point, you can become addicted after that first cigarette, and it's no longer a choice, it's now an addiction. So some characteristics and effects of nicotine. Nicotine increases the dopamine levels in the reward circuits of the brain. So this activates the reward system and generates feelings of pleasure similar to that caused by cocaine and other stimulants. It also activates the sympathetic nervous system, which stimulates the release of epinephrine, which is what we know of as adrenaline. So this increases blood pressure, breathing, and heart rate. It also stimulates the release of other chemicals. There's probably, I believe, about 7 or 8 of them that all do different things within the brain, and this results in perceived enhanced pleasure, decreased anxiety, and a state of alert relaxation. So it's kind of a tricky thing. When someone takes one inhalation of a cigarette, it only takes 7 seconds to reach the blood-brain barrier. So it happens very quickly, and can have different effects. And then also there are negative perceived effects, which is just like there's kind of a quick down feeling afterwards, and that's why people might be chain smokers or just smoke a lot throughout the day, because it kind of wears off relatively quickly. The half-life of nicotine is about 2 hours. So talking about its addictiveness, nicotine is very addictive because of its ability to activate the reward pathways. Smokers can achieve different results from the nicotine based on how they functionally smoke the tobacco. So short, quick puffs produce a low level of blood nicotine, resulting in a stimulating effect, while deep puffs produce a high level of blood nicotine, resulting in a relaxing, mild sedative effect. So smokers are able to kind of, change how this, affects them, and that too can increase its addictiveness because they kind of have control over that in a way. It's been shown to be more addictive than cocaine and heroin, and the neuronal brain alteration persists for months after administration ceases. So this is another reason why people might have a hard time quitting smoking, is because even after you stop smoking, you still have those changes from all those neurotransmitters and the chemicals in your brain, and it just stays that way for months. So it's really hard. So treatment and protective factors. Users with underlying anxiety, depression, or other disorders may need more intense intervention. Only 5% of users who quit cold turkey have success. So a combination of using medications, counseling, and behavioral therapy has been proven to be successful. And some protective factors of tobacco use are social support, school connectedness, parental monitoring, and future orientation. And some Metro Detroit nicotine addiction support. I found that Henry Ford Health has a special tobacco treatment service to help individuals quit smoking. There's a Sunshine Treatment Institute, which is an outpatient rehabilitation program in Detroit helping those recover from addictions. And then there's even a Corktown Health in the city that has a tobacco cessation program with specialists helping people around the city to quit smoking. And here are my references. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening and watching.